And joining us now to help us get a handle on the explosive situation in oil markets is Todd Bubba Horwitz, Chief Strategist of Bubba Trading. Welcome back, Bubba. And I noted the bump in Brent crude in the intro here, but more broadly, just give us a sketch. How are prices going on this news, and are they likely to keep rising?
How you doing, Daniel? Look, at the end of the day, you caught a short squeeze because, of course, there was a lot of people trying to sell oil into this, and all of a sudden we have this news which creates all this fear and panic and pushed at one point last night, oil was up over $8 a barrel. But from a bigger picture, you're seeing the action is not all that bullish because what we talk about is a formation which is known as backwardation. Today's oil, October oil, is trading $3 over February oil, so prices are getting cheaper as we go into the future, which means that everybody expects this situation to resolve itself and that oil will resume what it was doing before, which was actually headed lower. And this could help the Aramco deal because, of course, it puts the price of oil much higher, which makes their value higher. Maybe they sent their own drones in. Who knows?
Interesting. So the way this plays out is that your colleagues in the market seem to think that in the long term, the oil will be there, there'll be the supply, but in the medium term, the increase in the price actually helps the Aramco IPO, you're saying?
Well, I think so. I mean, look, they're going to base it on valuation, so we know that they're going to get back into production, and certainly they could probably do it a lot faster than a couple of weeks. But if they dragged it out and held these prices higher, the reason they didn't go last year was because prices were too low, so they didn't want to put it out as an IPO yet. Well, now they've got the high prices to go along with it. Again, this formation is not bullish by any means. Now, it doesn't mean that it can't change to be bullish, but there is still a glut of oil and a global slowdown in the economy throughout the world. And that is not going to change because Saudi Arabia is on. I would compare this very much to what happened in the cattle markets a couple of weeks ago when the Tyson fires came in and they had to wipe out and cattle went down limit twice in a row before resuming and going back higher. And I think this is very much the same thing. It's an overreaction by traders, by investors, and the people that got caught short that were forced to panic and cover higher.
Right. And speaking of reactions, what have been the official reactions from Saudi Arabia, which is a OPEC member, of course, and the de facto leader, in effect, with Russia in managing global energy supply? What have been the official reactions from OPEC members, OPEC as a group, and Russia to this incident?
You know, actually, I haven't heard much about that, but I can say this, that to me, OPEC is nothing more than a phony organization that manipulated the price and for years held the United States hostage with the oil price. And now that we are our own producers and actually we're a net exporter, and today we're the biggest producer in the world, to me, OPEC is a worthless organization that does nothing but try to manipulate price to bring in more profits and more money. And I put no stock in what they say. I don't care what they say. I will never even listen to one of their meetings, especially now that they cannot hold the United States hostage.
That's a hot take. That's why we bring Bubba here. Also, global town crier and U.S. President Donald Trump reacted to the attack, among the other people reacting. He says on Twitter, "We know the culprit in this attack." And then he makes this remarkable statement that the U.S. is, quote, "waiting to hear from the kingdom," that being Saudi Arabia, "as to who they believe was the cause of this attack and under what terms we would proceed." Now, that seems like the strangest pronunciation of America first that I've heard yet. Did he really mean to say that the U.S. is waiting for the Saudi monarchy to tell the commander-in-chief where and how to deploy U.S. forces?
Well, I think that basically what he's saying is that he'd like to know what their views are on how this all happened and where it came from. I mean, certainly, you know, it is not clear that it was Iran. I don't know if it was or it wasn't. So again, I think he'd like to hear what their views are and where it all came from. And I think that, of course, I believe that President Trump and the United States is always ready to react and take care of business, but they do not want to overreact and react too quickly in case there's more to this story, which based on that we haven't really heard that it is 100% Iran yet, there may be a lot more of the story before it's all said and done.
Right. And Bubba, as far as the outlook here, I think you kind of got to this earlier. You said in the futures markets, oil is already going down, and there seems to be this wisdom in the markets that can reduce all this information to a prediction in the form of a price. So it sounds like you and your colleagues think that this will not escalate into greater military confrontation based on the futures here.
It can, but again, based on the prices today, when February oil, for example, is $3 cheaper than October oil, that is backwards. That is known as a formation called backwardation, which does not necessarily, that means that prices should be going lower. Now, they could go higher for a little bit longer, but just look back at July 2014. We had the exact same information, very similar action. Oil got cut in half by 50%. Now, I'm not looking for 50%, but I am looking for, once this resolves, for oil to go significantly lower from here.
Interesting. Expert insight from Todd Horwitz, Chief Strategist at Bubba Trading. Thanks as always.
Thanks, Daniel.